Most garden advice gets repeated like gospel, and a lot of it is straight up wrong. Some of the rules you follow are quietly cutting your harvest, wasting your money, and stressing your plants, sometimes even killing them. So today I'm breaking down 20 gardening myths that science has already disproved. A few will clash with what you've always been told, but everyone is backed by real evidence. Let's go. Myth number 1. Water on a schedule. The advice: water every day at the same time, or every other day, or whatever rigid schedule someone told you. The reality: plants don't operate on schedules. They need water based on soil moisture, temperature, humidity, and growth stage. Watering on a fixed schedule either drowns plants when it's cool and humid, or starves them when it's hot and dry. The actual method that works: stick your finger 2 inches into the soil. If it's dry, water deeply. If it's moist, don't. This changes day to day based on weather. A plant that needed water yesterday might not need it today. Overwatering kills more plants than underwatering. When you water on a schedule instead of based on actual need, you're guessing. And plants die from bad guesses. Myth number 2. Add sand to clay soil to improve drainage. This one sounds logical. Clay is dense and heavy. Sand is loose and drains fast. Mix them together and you get better soil, right? Wrong. You get concrete. When you mix sand with clay in the wrong proportions, which is almost always what happens in gardens, the sand particles fill the spaces between clay particles, and you end up with something that drains worse than pure clay. Professional landscapers know this. Home gardeners keep doing it because the logic seems sound. The actual fix for clay soil: add organic matter. Compost, aged manure, shredded leaves, wood chips. Organic material creates structure in clay that allows drainage and aeration. It takes time and repeated applications, but it actually works. Sand just makes expensive mud. Myth number 3. Companion planting creates pest-free gardens. Companion planting is the idea that certain plants grown together repel pests, improve growth, or provide mutual benefits. Tomatoes with basil, carrots with onions, marigolds with everything. Some companion planting works, most of it doesn't. The research is mixed at best. Studies on marigolds repelling pests show minimal effect in actual field conditions. The strong scent might confuse some insects slightly, but it doesn't create a protective barrier. Aphids, hornworms, and other major pests don't care that there's basil next to your tomatoes. A friend of mine planted marigolds around her entire vegetable garden last year because every website told her it would keep pests away. She still had aphids on her beans, cucumber beetles on her cucumbers, and hornworms on her tomatoes. The marigolds looked nice, but they didn't do a thing to protect the other plants. What does work? Physical barriers, crop rotation, maintaining healthy soil, and accepting some pest damage as normal. Biodiversity helps, but not because of specific plant pairings. It works because diverse plantings support predator insects that eat pests. Plant tomatoes with basil if you like, harvesting them together for cooking. Don't plant them together expecting pest control. You'll be disappointed. Myth number 4. Epsom salt fixes everything. Gardening forums love Epsom salt. Yellow leaves? Epsom salt. Blossom end rot? Epsom salt. Slow growth? Epsom salt. Epsom salt is magnesium sulfate. It provides magnesium and sulfur. That's it. It doesn't fix nitrogen deficiency, potassium deficiency, calcium deficiency, or any of the other common plant problems people try to solve with it. Unless you have a confirmed magnesium deficiency, which is rare in most soils, Epsom salt does nothing. And you can't tell if you have magnesium deficiency just by looking at plants, because the symptoms overlap with a dozen other issues. Blossom end rot in tomatoes is calcium deficiency combined with irregular watering. Epsom salt provides 0 calcium. Applying it to tomatoes with blossom end rot is completely useless, yet thousands of gardeners do it every year because someone on the internet said it worked for them. I've seen people on gardening Facebook groups recommend Epsom salt for literally everything. One person swore it cured their rose black spot. Another claimed it made their grass greener. It's become this magical cure-all substance that has nothing to do with what it actually does chemically. Get a soil test, fix actual deficiencies with appropriate amendments, stop throwing magnesium at problems that aren't magnesium related. Myth number 5. Deep watering always beats shallow watering. The standard advice is to water deeply and infrequently to encourage deep root growth. This is true for established perennials, trees, and shrubs. It's terrible advice for seedlings, transplants, and shallow-rooted crops. Seeds germinating in the top inch of soil need that top inch to stay moist. Deep watering that wets soil 6 inches down does nothing for a seed that's half an inch deep. The surface dries out, the seed dies, and you wonder why your germination rate is terrible. Transplants with root balls, still in the shape of their nursery pot, need water at root ball depth until roots expand. Deep watering that soaks soil below the roots doesn't help them. Match your watering depth to your plant's current root depth. Seedlings get frequent shallow watering. Established plants get infrequent deep watering. Treating everything the same kills the small stuff. Myth number 6. Coffee grounds acidify soil. Coffee grounds are slightly acidic before brewing. After brewing, they're nearly neutral, pH around 6.5 to 6.8. Used coffee grounds do not significantly acidify soil. Gardeners put coffee grounds around blueberries, azaleas, and other acid-loving plants thinking they're lowering pH. They're not. Tests show that coffee grounds have minimal effect on soil pH, and what little acidity they have is quickly neutralized by soil microbes. Coffee grounds are decent nitrogen sources and improve soil structure, but they're not acidifiers. If you need to lower soil pH, use sulfur or aluminum sulfate. If you just want to add organic matter, coffee grounds work fine, but stop expecting them to turn your neutral soil acidic. Myth number 7. You need to fertilize constantly for good yields. The fertilizer industry has convinced gardeners that plants need constant feeding to produce. This is profitable for fertilizer companies, but not accurate for plants. Healthy soil with adequate organic matter provides most of what plants need. Over-fertilizing creates weak, disease-prone plants with excessive foliage and poor fruiting. It also leaches nutrients into groundwater and creates environmental problems. Tomatoes, for example, need moderate nitrogen early in growth and higher phosphorus and potassium during fruiting. Giving them constant high nitrogen fertilizer produces huge plants with few tomatoes. This is the opposite of what most gardeners want, but they keep fertilizing because they think more food equals more yield. Feed plants based on soil tests and plant needs, not on a weekly schedule. Most established garden beds need 1 or 2 applications of compost annually and occasional targeted fertilization based on deficiencies. That's it. Myth number 8. Tilling improves soil. Tilling destroys soil structure. It disrupts fungal networks, the underground web of fungus that connects plant roots and helps them share nutrients and water. Kills earthworms, brings weed seeds to the surface, and causes compaction as tilled soil settles. The short-term fluffiness you get from tilling disappears quickly and leaves soil worse than before. This isn't opinion. Decades of agricultural research show that no-till methods produce healthier soil, better water retention, and comparable or better yields than tilled soil. Farmers who switched from tilling to no-till see measurable improvements in soil quality within a few years. Small-scale gardeners still till because it looks productive and it's what everyone does. It feels like you're improving the soil. You're not. You're destroying the ecosystem that makes soil functional. My dad tilled his garden every single spring for 40 years. The soil got harder and more compacted every year, and he'd just till deeper to compensate. When he finally stopped and switched to just adding compost on top, his tomato yields went up the very first year. He was mad he hadn't tried it decades earlier. The alternative, add compost and organic matter on top of soil and let it incorporate naturally. Use a broad fork if you need to break up compaction without turning the soil. Plant cover crops. Stop disrupting the biology that actually builds soil fertility. Myth number 9. Pruning paint prevents disease. Pruning paint or wound dressing is supposed to seal cuts on trees and prevent disease or decay. Research shows it does the opposite. Trees compartmentalize wounds naturally, meaning they wall off the damaged area by creating barriers that keep the rot from spreading to healthy tissue. They create chemical and physical barriers around damaged tissue to prevent spread of decay. Pruning paint interferes with this process by trapping moisture and creating conditions where fungi and bacteria thrive. Studies from Texas A&M, University of Florida, and other institutions consistently show that painted wounds develop more decay than unpainted wounds. The tree care industry stopped recommending pruning paint decades ago. Home gardeners still buy it because it seems protective. Make clean cuts with sharp tools and let the tree seal itself. That's what trees evolved to do. Myth number 10. Newspaper ink is toxic in gardens. This myth won't die. Gardeners avoid using newspaper as mulch or in compost because they believe the ink is toxic. Newspaper ink has been soy-based or water-based for over 30 years. It's not toxic. Glossy magazine paper sometimes has different inks and coatings, but standard newsprint is safe for gardens. The myth persists because it was true 40 years ago when newspapers used petroleum-based inks with heavy metals. But that changed in the 1990s. The current version of this advice is outdated by decades. Newspaper works excellently as sheet mulch under wood chips, as compost material, or as weed barrier in pathways. Use it. It's free, it's safe, and it breaks down into organic matter. Myth number 11. Native plants don't need water. Native plants are adapted to local conditions, including local rainfall patterns. This doesn't mean they never need water. It means they need less water than non-native plants once established. During establishment, the first 1 to 3 years after planting, Native plants need regular watering, just like any other plant. Their roots are limited and can't access deep soil moisture yet. During droughts that exceed normal conditions, even established native plants may need water. Drought tolerant means they survive dry periods better than other plants. It doesn't mean they thrive without any water during extreme drought. The value of native plants is that they need less intervention long term, not that they need zero intervention. Treating them like they're invincible kills them during establishment or stresses them during abnormal weather. Myth number 12. Organic fertilizers can't burn plants. Organic fertilizers are safer than synthetic fertilizers in most applications, but they absolutely can burn plants if misused. Fresh manure is high in nitrogen and salts. Applied directly to plants, it burns roots and foliage. Blood meal is concentrated nitrogen. Over-application causes the same burning you get from synthetic nitrogen. The difference is that organic fertilizers usually release nutrients more slowly, which gives a margin of error. But if you pile on chicken manure or dump a bucket of blood meal around a plant, you'll get the same chemical burn you'd get from dumping synthetic fertilizer. Organic doesn't mean safe in any quantity. It means derived from living organisms. You still need to follow application rates and composting guidelines. Myth number 13. You can't grow tomatoes in the same spot 2 years in a row. Crop rotation is important for soil health and disease management. The rigid rule that you can't grow tomatoes in the same spot twice is excessive. The concern is soil-borne diseases like verticillium wilt and fusarium wilt. These diseases do build up in soil when you grow susceptible crops repeatedly. But if you're not experiencing disease pressure, rotating every single year isn't necessary. Many commercial tomato growers use the same fields for tomatoes for multiple years. They manage it with disease-resistant varieties, good sanitation, and soil amendments. It's not ideal, but it works when space is limited. If you have disease problems, rotate strictly. If you don't, and you're growing resistant varieties in healthy soil, you can grow tomatoes in the same spot for 2 to 3 years before rotating. The world won't end. The bigger issue is nutrient depletion. Tomatoes are heavy feeders. Growing them repeatedly in the same spot without adding compost and amendments will exhaust the soil. Fix that, and same spot tomatoes work fine. Myth number 14. All bugs are bad. Most gardeners see an insect and immediately think pest. This is wrong and counterproductive. The vast majority of insects in a garden are either neutral or beneficial. Predatory insects eat pests. Pollinators fertilize plants. Decomposers break down organic matter. Killing everything with broad-spectrum pesticides eliminates the beneficial insects that were controlling pests naturally. When you spray something that kills all insects, you wipe out predators and parasitoids that keep pest populations manageable. Then pests rebound faster than beneficial insects, and you end up with worse pest problems than before. Learn to identify common beneficial insects: ladybugs, lacewings, predatory wasps, ground beetles, spiders. Leave them alone. Accept some pest damage as the cost of maintaining a functional ecosystem in your garden. Myth number 15. More compost is always better. Compost improves soil. This is true, but you can absolutely have too much compost. Soil that's more than 30 to 40% organic matter becomes hydrophobic when dry, meaning it actually repels water instead of absorbing it and stays waterlogged when wet. It doesn't provide the mineral structure plants need. Seeds don't germinate well in pure compost because it's too rich and doesn't have the texture they need. I watched a neighbor spend an entire spring wondering why his tomato seedlings were dying. Turned out he'd filled his raised beds with pure compost, nothing else. The stuff would shed water like a raincoat when it dried out, then turn into a swamp after one good rain. He ended up having to dig it all out and mix in actual soil. Vegetable gardens do well with 2 to 4 inches of compost mixed into the top 6 to 8 inches of soil. Beyond that, you're creating problems. Excessive organic matter can tie up nitrogen as it decomposes, cause nutrient imbalances, and create drainage issues. Use compost as a soil amendment, not as a replacement for soil. There's a balance point, and more isn't always better. Myth number 16. Shade cloth should be white or light colored. The standard advice is to buy white or silver shade cloth because darker colors absorb heat. This sounds logical. It's wrong. Black shade cloth actually keeps plants cooler than white shade cloth. Research from Agricultural Extension Services shows that black fabric blocks heat radiation more effectively than reflective materials. White shade cloth reflects visible light, but lets infrared radiation, which is heat, pass through. Plants under black shade cloth experience lower leaf temperatures than plants under white shade cloth at the same shade percentage. The difference is measurable and significant during hot weather. This is one of those myths that sounds so correct based on everyday experience. Black clothes are hotter than white clothes in the sun, that nobody bothers to test it in the context of shade cloth. but the physics are different when you're blocking overhead sun versus wearing clothing. Buy shade cloth based on the percentage of shade you need, not the color. If both options are available at the same percentage, black performs better for cooling. Myth number 17. Hardwood mulch robs nitrogen from soil. The nitrogen robbing myth appears in every gardening book. Wood mulch on top of soil supposedly steals nitrogen as it decomposes, starving your plants. This doesn't happen with surface mulch. It happens when you till wood chips into soil, mixing them throughout the root zone, where decomposition ties up available nitrogen. But when wood mulch sits on the surface, decomposition happens at the soil surface where roots aren't actively feeding. Studies from Washington State University and other research institutions show that surface-applied wood mulch doesn't cause nitrogen deficiency in plants. The decomposition layer, where nitrogen gets temporarily tied up, is above the root zone. In fact, wood mulch improves soil over time by adding organic matter, moderating temperature, retaining moisture, and suppressing weeds. The nitrogen immobilization that gardeners fear doesn't occur in practice with proper application. Use wood mulch on the surface, don't till it in, there's no nitrogen penalty, and you get all the benefits of mulching. Myth number 18. You should remove lower leaves from tomatoes to prevent disease. This one's everywhere. Remove the bottom leaves of tomato plants so they don't touch the ground. It prevents soil-borne diseases from splashing onto foliage. Except it doesn't actually prevent disease in most cases, and you're removing productive foliage for minimal benefit. Lower leaves produce energy for the plant. Removing them reduces photosynthesis, which reduces overall plant vigor and fruit production. The disease prevention benefit is minimal unless you're in an area with heavy disease pressure and poor air circulation. Research shows that good air circulation, proper spacing, and mulch under plants are far more effective at disease prevention than removing lower leaves. The mulch actually does prevent soil splash. Removing leaves doesn't. Commercial tomato growers in disease-prone areas sometimes remove lower foliage, but they're balancing disease risk against yield loss. Home gardeners in most areas don't face the same disease pressure and should keep the leaves for better production. Leave the bottom leaves unless you're actively dealing with disease problems. You'll get more tomatoes. Myth number 19. Plastic pots are bad, terracotta pots are good. Garden centers and plant influencers love to shame plastic pots and promote terracotta. Terracotta is natural, breathable, traditional. Plastic is cheap and artificial. For plant health, plastic is often better. Terracotta dries out fast because it's porous. Water evaporates through the pot walls. In hot weather, or for plants that like consistent moisture, this means you're watering twice as often as you would with plastic. The constant wet-dry cycling stresses plants. Terracotta is also heavy, fragile, and expensive. It breaks when dropped, cracks during freezes, and costs significantly more than plastic. Plastic pots retain moisture more consistently, are lighter, don't break easily, and cost less. For most plants, these are advantages. The exception is plants that prefer to dry out between waterings, like succulents and cacti. For those, terracotta's fast-drying property is beneficial. Use the pot that matches your plant's water needs and your maintenance schedule. There's nothing inherently superior about terracotta except aesthetics. Myth number 20. You need full sun for vegetables. The full sun requirement for vegetables is stated as absolute truth in every gardening guide. Tomatoes need 8 hours of sun, peppers need 6 to 8 hours. You can't grow vegetables in partial shade. This is exaggerated. Many vegetables tolerate and even prefer partial shade in hot climates. In areas with intense summer sun, southern US, desert regions, Mediterranean climates, afternoon shade actually improves production for crops like lettuce, spinach, peas, and even some tomatoes. Full sun in 95 degrees Fahrenheit heat stresses plants, causes leaf scorch, and reduces yields. Studies from Texas A&M and University of Arizona show that many crops produce better with morning sun and afternoon shade in hot climates compared to all-day full sun exposure. I've got a friend in Arizona who couldn't figure out why her tomatoes kept dying in July and August. They'd produce great in spring, then just crisp up and stop when summer hit. She moved them to a spot that got shade after 2 p.m., and suddenly her tomatoes produced through September. Turns out full sun in Phoenix sun is not the same as full sun in Ohio sun. The full sun guidelines were written for temperate climates with moderate summers. In hot climates, you need to adapt. Shade cloth, strategic planting near structures that provide afternoon shade, choosing naturally shadier spots can improve yields rather than reduce them. Understand your climate. Match sun exposure to actual conditions, not to generic guidelines written for different regions. Garden rules sound true because you've heard them 1,000 times. Plants don't care. They respond to what actually works. So test, adjust, and follow results, not tradition. Which myth surprised you most? Or which one were you doing for years? Drop it in the comments. I read them and they helped me choose the next video. Take care. See you in the next one.